This is part 2 of a 2-part podcast.
Have you ever wondered whether a particular book was really good or just so-so, and if you could trust the reviews online? When it comes to books related to permaculture, Permies has a large list of reviews for over 100 books. Perhaps you're considering a book for yourself or a friend, or you're just curious about what's out there. Stop by permies.com/book and take a look at the book review grid and read some honest reviews, and hopefully you'll find the next book to add to your collection.
All right, the last thing I want you to plant more of, and your kids are going to hate me for this, is kale. And what I want you to shoot for is kale that will reseed itself. So pick your favorite kale, one variety. Is that kale there?
No, that's Brussels sprouts mostly. And there's one giant, I think it's a cabbage. I don't know what that's doing. It hasn't put out broccoli or cabbage looking stuff at the top, but the rest are Brussels sprouts, and there's broccoli behind in that bed.
Well, I think Brussels sprouts are disgusting, and that's why I didn't recognize it. And I suspect that your kids will agree with me.
No, we like them. We like them roasted with some bacon or something. They're quite good, but there's no accounting for taste. So I think your whole family is weird, but you get to be as weird as you want, man. So, all right. Anyway, kale, okay. Reseeding kale.
Right, because I want it to be able to reseed. And then, of course, the great thing about kale is that, it's still available generally through December into January. And then it seems to kind of go dormant for a couple of months and is less available. It's not really growing. And then it kind of comes back in the early spring and takes off again. So it's kind of got 9 or 10 months of harvest. And so I think that that's great. It doesn't require this. It's got this large harvest window, and that makes eating from the garden so much easier. And this is this whole thing I'm advocating these days. All right. So we talked about hugelkultur. We talked about apples and crab apples. Yep. We talked about cucumbers and unfortunate Brussels sprouts. Let me, rather than me just sitting here yammering on and on and on and on, how would you like to direct this conversation from here? Yeah,
let me pull up my list here from the thread of the questions I was hoping to hit on. Kind of went over this, the ash trees. I wouldn't mind just closing the loop on the hugels. If you had any thoughts on layout, like I said, I'm guessing maybe sun scoopy or wavy to try to avoid frost pockets. So I have the one there. I think I'm going to need to pull the top off and get some soil in there and rebuild it. I'm no stranger to operating machinery. The rental place is very close by. That was put together with a skid loader. For the big log chunks that I had, and I'll be getting a skid loader or excavator or both to do the rest. But given that area there, the middle of which, part of it looks shaded there, but the middle of that all gets adequate sunlight, and I do have a solar pathfinder. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but so in that area, which is the first place I'd like to put more hugels, what would you recommend in terms of layout?
Well, first of all, because your land is so flat, now you do have a lot of big trees around, and I imagine that your whole neighborhood has a whole lot of big trees. So the amount of wind that gets to you, probably medium-ish. You probably get less wind than people that are out where there are no trees, but you have more wind than, say, I do.
Yeah, and looking at this picture, there's a park off to the right, and it's wide open, and the prevailing wind can kind of come right in from the bottom right of that photo. So there is a little wind exposure there, but it's not crazy.
And you have a little bit of slope to your land, the highest.
Very slight.
Okay, very slight.
Yeah, it's probably, I think when I looked at the topo map, it's maybe 10, 15 feet from the front to the back, from north to south. So not enough to really be all that worried about. Okay.
I think. I mean, I'm just guessing here. 10 feet is not much. But in general, when laying in a hugelkultur, it should go like uphill, downhill, like contrary to on contour. So contour. And there's a lot of people that kind of learn about swales and they are like, oh, I'm going to do both. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're in a tropical climate, swales are great. And if you're in Minnesota, then I'm going to say hugelkultur is far better, and it's going to go contra to contour. So that way, if there's going to be any cold air pooling up in your neighborhood, then it's going to go right on down to visit the neighbors instead of sticking around and making frost pockets where you are. I think, in a way, you might simply be boned in that respect. You're going to be in the middle of a frost pocket no matter what you do. However, if your hugelkulturs tend to be really, really, really tall, you might kind of get it up. The tops of them might kind of get up out of the frost pockets enough that it'll be substantially warmer at the top. I doubt you're going to do it. But okay, it's a fun thing to think about and talk about. All right. So generally, contra contour. And then, like Andreas has pulled up on the screen here, wiggly.
Yep.
And it's like, because if you've got wiggly, any wind that comes through can't really get down in between the hugelkulturs, no matter what direction it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of people try to make designs based upon what is the prevailing wind. And that's not a bad idea. However, I think making a design that's going to work no matter which direction the wind's coming from is better, because winds do change a lot.
Yeah.
So now in the picture that we were looking at for your stuff, so there's a fair bit of shade. What kind of tree is that casting all that shade?
I think that one might be black locust. We do have some black locust.
Lovely.
I know you love black locust, and I've been killing them because they sprout up everywhere. But now that I'm aware how great the wood is, I'm going to probably try and let them, if they're not in a real bad spot, try and let them go until they're a bit bigger.
So they are a coppicing species. Now, you can't use black locust wood in hugelkultur.
No, this would be for construction.
Yeah. Outdoor furniture is going to be dreamy, or if you're going to build anything outdoors, it is going to be the best. At the same time, that the shade is annoying, and so maybe trimming it up a bit and start to use some of those branches for things. I think it would be fun to even build some chairs. I don't know. We've been building chairs the last few years here, doing roundwood chairs, and with no fasteners or glue, or getting better and better and better at it. So of course that's immediately where my brain goes. But okay, black locust. My first thought is that it might be something that could be dying right now, like an elm or something, and then you'd be like, oh, that's going to go right into the hugelkultur, so that's going to turn into a big sunny spot. A little bit of that shade from this is the one picture I posted flipped around, so south is up. A little bit of the trees off that way are dying. So yeah, some of those are ash and can come out. So they're on the list. They're on the chopping block. Beauty. Okay, you asked a question about how to place your hugelkulturs. Like, what's going to be the strategy for this plot? Yeah. And I gave you some stuff about contra contour, and I also mentioned wiggly squiggly. And so, do you have any other questions for me at this time about that? No, I think that covers it. I'm going to have to move that one, but as I mentioned, it needs to be rebuilt a bit anyway because it doesn't have any soil mixed in. So that's fine. I can rework that. So just to be clear for everybody else, he did a thing where, and there's like all kinds of misinformation available on the interwebs. And so there's a lot of this misinformation of like, make a big brush pile and then you're going to have a sticks on sticks on sticks on sticks. Then cover that with soil. And it's like, no, that is a terrible idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, I'm glad that there's a lot of enthusiasm for hugelkultur. I just wish that these people weren't doing, where did they get that idea? I'd like to discourage them from doing that and telling people, here's how you do it. I'd like them to stop doing that.
Yeah, I would have liked that too, because I didn't find your diagrams until after I already piled all that up. We piled it up so artfully, but now it's got to come apart. Going down my list, so we've covered a lot of these points. If I'd like to add, more like fruit, bushes, and trees, where should I think maybe on this property about adding those?
First of all, I think you're going to be, you're probably already going to know this next one, and that is that for fruit trees, please do not make an orchard. And so, because it's kind of like an oxymoron, permaculture orchard. I know that there's that Stefan guy that he's got the permaculture orchard thing that he does, and he's got a lot of cool stuff he's doing. However, I wish to move into something that's more diverse. Orchards tend to be very monocroppy, and once you start getting monocroppy, everything kind of goes bad. But once you start getting a lot of hugelkulturs, do you know what your annual precip is?
So normally it's about 30 to 34. My rain gauge on the roof says we've got 50 so far this summer. And we had even more last year. All this climate change stuff is really, really making things screwy. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But normal's 30 to 34.
Okay. That's a lot. That's more than Seattle.
Is it really?
Yeah. Seattle's 30. Huh. Yeah. Okay. Isn't that weird? Seattle's so famous for rain, but 30. But the funny thing is that if you go a little bit east of Seattle, like a half hour east of Seattle, you're in Issaquah where they get 60.
Yep. Yeah.
And, but the other ththing is if you go like, into the Olympic Peninsula, which is west of Seattle, but you got to cross Puget Sound and then go further. So that bit of land that sticks out in the ocean, they get like, I think 200 inches. They've got a rainforest. All right. Anyway, sorry, a little trivia. I'm back though. So,
it's good to talk about that range. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you dig a hole 2 feet deep out there, what do you see?
Well, I put in a big fence and dug a lot of holes, so I got a lot of perspective on that. We have a lot of rich organic material in places, and then we have a lot of sand. We're supposedly in a sand plain here, so there's a mix.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So with the amount of rainfall, that's going to go good with the sand because sand doesn't hold moisture super good. So everything's got a better chance. But at the same time, you're not going to have any problems with water puddling and drowning your growies. That's not going to be a thing.
I've never seen that.
And you've never had any flooding of any kind, right?
No, okay. We don't have an issue here.
Yeah, a lot of people in flat land, that's a very common problem. But okay, good. So, I'm going to say that having everything be sandy like that and a lot of rainfall, you're kind of a little bit screwed because of the sand. It's going to add some challenge. The rainfall's good, but if it just is gone in like a few hours, it's like, well, damn it, it's all gone. So hugelkultur for the win. It's gonna act like a sponge and give you a big buffer there. That's gonna be good. But sand, like we're on solid rock, but we found a patch of sand on the property. So we've been using sand and we've been transforming that slowly into soil. I think our precip here is about, I'm going to guess, this is just a guess, on this property, it's about 20 inches a year. And in Missoula proper, it's 13. And so we're a little ways out of Missoula. But all right. Still, you're getting a lot of precip in the summer, which for us, it's normally bone dry. But okay. Good to know. That means that when you're digging down, it's going to be easy to put on top. Whereas for us, we couldn't do that because the solid rock thing.
Yeah.
And when I say solid rock, I don't mean to say like there's a lot of rocks. I mean like this is a 20-acre rock. It's one giant rock. And in places, human beings have chipped at the rock to make flat spots, like with dynamite. So,
luckily I don't have that problem.
Yeah, it's going to be so much easier for you. So, all right. I like the idea of reducing any wind that might be coming through from any direction. I'm glad that it's sand. That means good drainage. And then also, where I'm going with this is we were talking about fruit trees. And so it's like, okay, I want you to place your fruit trees kind of like about a foot up from the bottom. So they're low on the hugelkultur, but they're not all the way onto the ground. All right?
Yep.
And so that way they're going to be able to tap in to all the moisture reserves that are in the hugelkultur, and they're going to tap in to all the moisture that's on the ground where you're walking.
Gotcha.
And so they're gonna get all of it, so they're gonna get a lot more. But near the bottom of a hugelkultur, things tend to be moister, and I want your trees to have like the best, because the only tree that doesn't care is going to be black locust, which you got going on there. There's a few others that are going to be able to cope with super dry stuff. But you're probably not going to grow black locust on your hugelkultur. You're probably going to focus more on your food-producing kinds of trees. You might also put all your trees on more of the north side of hugelkulturs. So that way, when they get to be really, really big, then you can still have some of your hugelkulturs out in the sun.
I was thinking northwest, right? So that it doesn't get the morning sun. Is that right?
All right.
So in case I've heard you mention something about the moisture getting into the branches and freezing.
Are you going to try to grow citrus or some other?
No, we're not trying to grow a lemon tree in Minnesota. So.
Okay. All right. Well, then you don't.
So maybe not a concern.
But I'm glad that you're listening so well. That is awesome. But you're right. When we start talking about growing a lemon tree in Montana, then we want to block the sunrise a little bit. Not entirely, but a little bit.
Right.
But that's not what you need to do.
Okay, good to know.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. All right. You want to get that sunrise sun. You're going to need it.
Right.
So, all right.
Okay. So north side.
What's next? You asked about fruit trees, and I kind of given you a little bit of guidance there.
Recommendations for feeding the chickens. So right now they get a lot of laying pellets, and they get the fruit that maybe has bugs in it, which we don't like, and they do. And they get to roam. They have grass and whatever weeds pop up where they are. It's a little bit difficult for us to relocate them because unfortunately one of our dogs got a taste of live chicken and now they have to be separated. So that's limited. I would love to do like a chicken tractor or something, but I had thought of just having a patch somewhere of stuff that they would love to eat that I could harvest periodically and toss in there. I'm wondering if you had thoughts on that.
Well, if Yes, I have a lot of thoughts.
Mm.
And I drive everybody insane with these thoughts. And so why should you be any different?
All right.
It goes like this. I still want you to figure out a way to do paddock shift. And so maybe this means that each year you're going to add a paddock, or maybe some of your kids are old enough to help you, or I don't know, somehow you can rope some sucker into doing it with you. Some way to end up with 4 paddocks or more, or, the idea being that you have some way where the chickens will be always protected from your dog, of being able to have a paddock that has a whole bunch of Brock's family's garden and food in there. And then when the chickens are about to go in, then you go in and you harvest what you want that you don't want the chickens to have. Mine, damn it. Those are the magic words that you have to say, as you're doing it. Yep. Mine, damn it. Okay, so then you got it. And then the chickens go in there, and they're probably going to want to eat the bugs first, and then they're going to eat some of the other things that you also eat.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be there for, let's say, a week. And then we do the same routine for the next paddock and the next paddock. All right. Chickens will harvest sunchokes. And if you're growing, let's say, 10,000 pounds of sunchokes because time has passed and this is where you are and they're just everywhere, and there's just mountains of food, you're gonna go into this area and harvest a bunch and then let the chickens in, and you're not going to shed a single tear because there's so many sunchokes in there. Even if they tried, they're barely going to make a dent in the sunchokes that are in there. Same thing goes for kale. I don't think that they'll eat the walking onions, but who knows? Maybe they will. But another great thing for growing chicken feed is going to be winter keeper apples. When those apples fall from the ground, the chickens will say, mine, mine. And you'll be like, it's on the ground. I don't care. You go ahead and eat that.
Yep.
So, and I think a lot of it is to be thinking about, like, what are the chickens going to eat in the wintertime? One of my favorites is the sepulcher grain. The chickens have a way of bending over the grain stalk to get at the grain at the end. And if you've already gone and harvested all the grain you want, then the chickens will still find some that you haven't. Another good one from the Department of Grains is going to be a bush-style wheat. And I understand there's been some new wheats that are fairly perennial. Chickens are designed to eat grain, but they eat bugs. Half their diet is bugs, but they eat grain. Human beings, not so much. Not really designed to eat grain. We have ways of doing stuff to the grain so we can eat it, but it's not. We're not really designed to eat it. But we do. Mm-hmm. All right. The thing is, the chickens can get to that and eat it.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. permies.com/consult.
Mulberry trees. Now, I keep running into people that are like, oh, mulberries are so delicious. And I just kind of get this face like, ew, gross. Because to me, and I don't know about all these other people, apparently I'm the only person in the world where, to me, a mulberry is like a really big blackberry that's been soaking in a stew of old tennis shoes.
Ooh.
Like, why does it smell like old tennis shoes? Oh, and it tastes like old tennis shoes too. Yuck. And these other people are like, these are so yummy. Oh, I could eat 100 of these. But here's the most important thing. Some people have all kinds of fruit trees and fruits and things that they're growing, and they want to eat it, and then the wild birds get there first. And then the people are so upset because they got nothing. But if you have a few mulberry trees, it turns out the birds will eat all the mulberries first. And if you got so many mulberries growing that they never finish, they'll never touch your other stuff. Yay! So chickens are also birds. And so the mulberries fall out of the tree and the chickens eat it all up. And they're like, this is the best. This is terrific. Now, my focus, you were saying something like, I'm going to grow something and then I'm going to go get it. And then I'm going to throw it in there so the chickens can have it.
Yep.
It's kind of like, oh, I think that's a bad idea. And the reason is chickens like to eat 10 times a day.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a proper name for each of these meals as opposed to the breakfast, lunch, and dinner that we know about. Oh, we got supper also, and there's 11sies now, thanks to fiction. But they have more meals than that. And so I don't think you're going to do this 10 times a day, every day. And so I like the idea. And plus, whenever I see chickens in an area where there's no greenery, like it's in the middle of, like they're in an area that's surrounded by greenery, but there's no greenery inside where they are, I feel a little sad for the chickens. And so I want to be able to come to your property and not feel sad for the chickens. Also, if I ever point out to anybody like how I feel sad for the chickens, that's usually about the time I'm asked to leave. And so I don't want to come all the way to Minnesota and be asked to leave. So
well, there's a picture in there somewhere. They do have a lot of greenery at the moment, but they would be happier with a lot more. So
and that's another thing too, is if you leave them in the same spot for months or years, diseases start to build up there. And it does seem like almost every person raising chickens who is demanding that I praise the way that they raise chickens, their philosophy set is, I must be doing a great job raising these chickens because most of them haven't died. And I kind of feel like that's not the metric to run with.
It's a low bar.
That is too low of a bar, I think. And and they don't want to hear about my higher bar ideas. That's just offensive. Which is, it's also contrary to the praise they were expecting.
Right.
And it's like, that's where everything kind of goes south. So paddock shift is what I want from you. And I think
we can find a way. Yeah.
And I want those paddocks to be where you are eating. And so that's your food. And then they come in there and they eat a lot of the same stuff you eat, but they won't obliterate it. Or if they are obliterating it, you got too many chickens per paddock size. Like you need bigger paddocks or fewer chickens.
Gotcha. Yeah, unfortunately we're limited to 4 here. We used to have 20 in New Mexico, but and no roosters. So, but we make it work. So, okay, that covers the chickens. I think we can make the paddock shift work. Let me just run down the list here. I think we've got most of these.
I see there's a lot of comments going by, and I haven't looked at any of them. There's somebody who says, yes, chickens eat walking onions.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think that's great.
Let's see. We talked about go-to perennials.
There's greenery growing through the winter that the chickens can continue to eat all winter long. And then if you've got so much kale and walking onions and sunchokes, like maybe 10 times more than your family can possibly eat, no matter how hard they try and how much they love these 3 things, these 3 staples, and you've only got 4 chickens, and they're going to be eating like less than 1/10 of what you eat, then it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, I dug up a sunchoke and it had a chicken peck in it. And it's like, there you go, chickens. Finish that for me, will ya? And I'm going to get only the pristine, perfect sunchokes for me and my family. And it's like, because why not? I've got 10,000 pounds of sunchokes, and there's no way we're going to ever eat all of them. All right.
Yeah, you see sunchokes happening. We have covered almost everything. I was just looking at the list. In spots where I couldn't put hugels, this is probably a duh, but in spots I can't put hugels. You know, some of these back beds we're looking at here right now, I did the thing where I throw a bunch of sticks and leaves and then compost and soil on top of them. And, you know, that does seem to help. Would you generally recommend doing that in places where I can't do hugels, or do you have a different thought on where to go for other locations?
Well, okay, you got 2 acres.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take a really twisted route to answering this question.
Sure.
Focus on 1/4 of an acre and make it glorious. That means that if you've got some extra leaves and bits of wood and, you know, things that can be mulchy, I would rather pick those up and put them on the 1/4 of an acre that I'm working on this year. And then next year, I'm going to take on a new 1/4 of an acre. And then the year after that, a new 1/4 of an acre. And then I'm going to take all of my everything and, you know, put it to the 1/4 of an acre that I'm working on now. And that is going to be my most productive gardens. And then if you've got a little something over there and there's going on and you're like, and I don't know, I would say I would want to look at a spot and it's like, I've decided, despite my 1/4 of an acre plan, I have decided that I wish to pour some love on this spot. I'm going to give it 1 hour of my gardening love because I'm stupid that way and this is just how I roll. And then it's like for each spot, I will come up with a different dream. There's a thing I do here a lot, and it sounds stupid. And I maybe some of the people that are online and chatting in the chatty chat have been here and know that I do this and have done it with me. I call it lawn chair design. And what I do is I get a lawn chair and I put it on the spot. And I sit there with a pad of paper and a pen and I just try to bond. Like I spend a good half hour bonding because I want to pour love on this spot. What do I want to do here? What's going to be, you know, do I want to grow a tree here? Do I want to grow some mulch here that I'm going to hack and use somewhere else? Is this going to be a new strawberry patch? Do I want to plant some grains here this year and then, you know, I'll harvest them next year maybe? Because sepulchre grain is generally biennial, and usually when I do grain, I do sepulchre grain. But so like rather than like looking at a spot and like, quick, in 20 seconds, what's the plan for this spot? And my first thought is, come back to it later. Like I'm going to focus on my 1/4 of an acre now. And so often I've seen people who have like, I've got 40 acres and they do nothing because they do this tiny little bit over the whole 40 acres. And then it's like nothing seems to ever really change. And that's why I say focus on a 1/4 of an acre per year and make that 1/4 of an acre glorious. And then next year, you're going to have a new 1/4 of an acre project. You might kind of nurture the first 1/4 of an acre a little bit the following several years. But in time, it's going to get to the point where it's like, it's on autopilot. In fact, I've never been able to get pepper plants to reseed themselves or to be perennial outdoors. But tomatoes, I encourage the volunteers. So it's like, oh, okay, I did this one 3 years ago. Now it's got a bunch of volunteer tomatoes and volunteer potatoes. We got a lot of spots where there's potatoes coming out 7 years later. And there's the sunchokes, and there's some asparagus, and there's rhubarb, and there's one fruit tree, and there's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like that, I think, is the permaculture promise, is the whole thing of like, now you've got this food pump that just keeps pumping out food, and you don't irrigate it, you don't fertilize it, and it's just a jungle of food. And it's like, okay, now I harvest. That's all I do with this spot now is I only harvest. So when you ask me, you're looking at a little patch of dirt. What do I ought to do? It is a little patch of dirt right there. Ready, go. I'm kind of like, it depends. So,
gotcha.
And you said something about like, you had some mulchy bits, and I'm like, okay, now carry your mulchy bits over to the quarter acre instead of putting it on this little flat spot.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm thinking I've got to take down these trees. It's September 20th. Winter is coming. So, if I'm going to focus, I think right now it's going to be get those trees down, rent some equipment, get those hugels built, and start working on that for the fall. That's kind of where I'm leaning. So I'll come up with a new layout.
That's beautiful.
And get cooking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's going to probably be too cold and late in the season to really get much planted on those by the time they're done. I would think. So, and I can try and scatter some stuff, but maybe some peas and they can get started. But otherwise, I think it's probably going to have to be in spring, huh?
I do a thing that's a little bit backwards. And it's wrong, and it makes a lot of work later. But if I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm not going to give this the love I want to give it for a year at least. Like, I want to build it for now, and I need to plant it with something now in order to hold it together and hopefully build the soil along the way. I tend to plant a tall grass that's going to spread with rhizomes, and it helps to enrich. It helps to build the soil and stuff like that. But then later, when I'm growing my gardens, I got to pull it all out, and which is work. But the beautiful thing is that by the time I'm pulling it out, then it's really enriched the soil, and now I've got other things I'm growing there. You could plant a bunch of daikon radish, a bunch of kale. You mentioned winter peas. So there are things that you can grow that will grow through the winter to some degree. I would go ahead and start with the sunchokes and the walking onions. I mean, the thing I always like to think of is that it's like, if I'm going to grow any kind of garden here, I need to eat my way through all that stuff to be able to grow something else. You can eliminate sunchokes and walking onions, but you're going to have to be persistent about it and take some steps. But in the meantime, there's other things that do a great job of building. So we're really lucky in that what we have here. I was going to say, like, earlier we talked about, what mulch to grow, and I got to throw out comfrey. And I did see something where the permaculture orchard guy seemed to not like comfrey. He felt it was dumb. And I got to say, because he was like, comfrey only grows this tall. It's like, my comfrey grows 5 feet tall, falls over, and has this constant crop of this giant comfrey. And then I go in and I cut it all the way to the ground, and a week and a half later, it's back at 5 feet tall again.
Wow.
And it's like, that is a lot of organic matter that's building soil below the ground. And of course, I'm getting giant bales of comfrey hay to go and lay down as mulch somewhere. And so.
It's okay.
But it's going to not do well in the winter. So it's not the winter thing, which is kind of what you're asking me, like what to plant in the winter. I have seen, like I went and threw out I took a bunch of daikon seed. I got some daikon radish seed that was like in a packet for sprouting daikon radishes, like you're going to eat sprouts. And so I think I got like this big ass bag for like $4. And I've been grabbing handfuls of that and just flinging it wherever it looks like things aren't growing as well as other places. And I did the same thing with kale in some spots. Only then I got like a little packet and I'm, grabbing this little bit and going. And so now there's baby kales and baby daikons all over the place. And so I'm hoping that as we get into fall, they're going to be giant and build the soil in a bunch of different ways. But those are two that have some small fame at growing in the cooler season, and they grow quickly. And the kale will pump out food for you, like through December, January, then go semi-dormant and be right back at it early spring, pumping out food for you. And so it's like, and building the soil. Yay. But of course, a big part of what you're probably thinking is like, I want stuff that's going to fix nitrogen. And,
and also I don't want it to get overgrown with random weeds or erode off because there's nothing there. So,
all true. All good. Yeah. All good.
So, okay.
All right.
I think the last question I had on my list, and, you can veto or whatever, but I've been looking at trying to get out there for like a supper visit, and I don't know, just to kind of get hands on and see what you guys are doing. So I don't know if you have any recommendations for when would be a good time to do that or the best way to do that. It's hard for me to get away with the wife acceptance factor, having the 3 kids at home. So my time is limited, but
I think we had a family stay in the red cabin where it was a couple, and I believe they had 5 kids in there, which I was good, like, how are you going to do that? Because there's like, if I remember, and I may be wrong because we've changed the red cabin so many times, but I believe there is a full-sized bed in there and a twin-sized bed higher up.
Well, they're not likely, they have school right now, or maybe in the summer that's a possibility. But if I were to just come out there to kind of do some hands-on looking and learning solo. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to list off. I think that they want to be in the red cabin, and it's like, we got other cabins that have like 4 bunks, and it's like, well, don't you want that? No. Yeah. We want everybody wants the red cabin. And it's like, okay, but the thing I was going to say about the red cabin and the love shack and the things here at base camp is, at some point in your life, you got to experience a rocket mass heater. And the only time you can really experience a rocket mass heater is in the colder months. And we're getting into the colder months. And I'm always surprised. To me, in my imagination, in my brain, it's like, oh, we're going to be booked solid all winter with seppers who want to be in our cabins to experience all the rocket mass heaters that we've built. And no, it's we go through a Montana winter, and it's a bit like a ghost town here. And so it's kind of like, I was sure that we would get just absolutely overwhelmed with people. Nope. So we've had some summers where we would have a lot of seppers and a lot of boots in the boot camp. And then we've had some times in the summer where it's like, boy, there's hardly anybody here. So I don't know. I'm a little baffled, frankly, and this is just me being a whiner. I kind of think like, okay, at the University of Montana in Missoula, there's 10,000 students. I think that none of them know that we exist. And I can't help but think that if all 10,000 of them knew that we existed, probably at least 500 would rather do what we do than what they're doing. And it doesn't cost near as much as what they're paying. And it's like, and I think that what we're doing is about, I don't know, 50 times more satisfying. But yeah, this is just me being a whiner. I kind of feel like what we offer for basically for free is huge and profound, and I'm kind of surprised that we're not packed and there's a waiting list. So whenever you're damn good and ready, we're probably going to have a for you.
Sounds good. Yeah, I do. I want to try to build this rocket mass hot tub thing, and there's a thread I've been discussing with some people on here, so it'd be good to get some hands-on time with one before trying to build it. I would like that.
They do work. They are different, and it is something that's hard to get from watching videos or reading books. It's something where it's like you gotta feel it, you know.
Yeah.
And then
we're all about the hands-on.
So it's like I remember we put out a video a while back, a day in the life of a rocket mass heater, and there were some snotty comments that I deleted, but they were kind of like, "There's no way, that's not possible. That is for a fact. It cannot be done." And it's like, and I get it, because I had that same mindset before I experienced them for the first time. And when you've been heating your home with 6 cords of wood every winter for years and years and years and years, to just see a home be that warm with just a handful of sticks, it's kind of like, I don't know, part of it's kind of depressing. Like, why have I been hacking up so many trees every year? You know, this is like, this is all I needed. And then you're just like, the fire's been out for 12 hours and the bench is still super hot. And it's like, and you touch it and you're like, and you've been watching it and you know it's not like somebody snuck a fire in there when you weren't looking. And it's like, because you were there. So anyway, these guys were posting these horrible, nasty comments on the YouTube video. And it's like I really kind of feel for them, but they don't need to be so hostile. They don't need to be so ugly. Sure. And you really got to get it firsthand. So Andreas is helping us out today with this, and Andreas and I have been talking for the last 6 months about how we need to make a new rocket mass heater video to talk about how to make it even simpler and clearer about how it works and why and stuff like that. But the bottom line is really you got to just be there and burn it yourself. And the red cabin's good at that, because the red cabin, you're all on your own. It's pretty clear there's no other heat in that building. So it's not like someone's sneaking heat in, you know, and it's like, okay, I built this tiny fire and it's 2 days later, it's been below freezing outside. And it's still warm in here. I don't want to build a fire today. It's still plenty warm. And it's like, yeah, weird, huh? All right.
Well, hopefully soon. So that covers everything I had. Did you have any parting thoughts?
Well, there's all these things that people are writing in the chatty chat. Normally, Andreas is great at taking the best of and sticking them up on the screen.
Yeah, he did one. I've been keeping an eye on him. There's not too much there, just mostly adding a little information about sun chokes and Wheaton Labs and things like that. So, and some suggestions for which cultivars might be good for me and things like that.
I see Derek saying something about how Wheaton Labs is a great place to visit. We were there in late September last year. And it's like, and Derek and his wife, I mean, Derek's one of those guys where it's like, what is the happy juice this guy is drinking? I want some. He's just like this perpetually happy guy. So of course he thinks we're great, because I think everywhere he goes, it's great. And so, it was such a delight. They were only here for a week. And, but that's how a lot of our suppers are. They can only get like a week off of work and they come out. But, I'm glad that he got to come out and experience all that we have to offer here. And he and his wife just jumped into projects and it was great. It was really good. I don't know. I'm sure there's other people that are on the Chatty Chat that have been here too. But okay, if you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about hugelkultur, homesteading, and permaculture all the time.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.